I come in, sir? Morning, sir.
Good morning, Krati.
Morning, sir.
Your name is Krati, is it?
Krati.
Please sit down.
Thank
Krati,
you,
we will want to hear you out for a minute. Give us your introduction.
So my name is Krati Raj. I was born and brought up in Jhansi, Uttar Pradesh. Did my initial schooling from St. Francis Convent Inter College. Then I proceeded for my BTech in computer science, and that was done from 𝐊𝐫𝐚𝐭𝐢 Institute of Engineering and Technology, Jhansi. And I consider myself as an optimistic and determined girl. I like to take on challenges. I'm a benign tumor survivor, and I run an NGO which works for women and child issues.
Very good.
Thank you, sir.
You want to start?
Krati, you are from Uttar Pradesh.
Yes, sir.
Now, Uttar Pradesh is progressing, but all said and done, it still remains a backward state. I'm giving you time span of 10 years. So when you will be an IAS officer after 10 years, 8-9 years in Uttar Pradesh, you would definitely like to see it an advanced state. So my question to you is, what Uttar Pradesh needs to do to be a developed state at the most 10 years time? What I mean by developed is economically and socially. Politically, they have always been developed. Economically and socially. What needs to be done? Give your suggestions on that.
Sir, I would say that economically and socially, to develop Uttar Pradesh, we need to ensure equity in Uttar Pradesh.
Equity?
Yes, sir, because there are vast differences, even regionally.
Okay, fine,
Uttar
got
Pradesh is pretty developed. On the contrary, I come from Bundelkhand.
We need it. Background is well known. Suggestions for bringing about more equity.
Sir, I would suggest more transparency and autonomy in the system, like decentralize the administration so that various regions can get the benefits of development. Thereafter, I would also suggest that Uttar Pradesh is an agrarian state, so why not develop a food processing industry?
Sorry, develop?
Food processing industry.
Food processing industry.
Because manufacturing is pretty
Good.
less. So, for example, if I can draw from my experience, coming from Jhansi, we see many migrants who come to Delhi. The reason is that there is no manufacturing,
Right.
no industries, agrarian distress is there. Land holdings
Other
are
than
very,
food processing industry, what can be developed for improving it
so
economically?
tourism.
Tourism.
Yes, sir.
What are the main reasons why tourism has not been good so far?
So the niches that have developed in Uttar Pradesh, they are mostly around like the religious places, Ayodhya, Varanasi. But
I'm not on that. What are the reasons? Be specific. What are the reasons why it's not good today?
so infrastructure is not developed. Hospitality industry
What do
is,
you mean by infrastructure?
So the connectivity, the roads, for example, the rural roads, they're still in very dilapidated conditions. And apart from that, the credit culture is very poor in Uttar Pradesh. So even when you want to develop the infrastructure, it takes a very long route.
Okay. Any other thing other than tourism?
Yes, sir. We can also talk about gender rights. I mean, that's important. Even, to converge in other areas.
I switch on to another question now. You have been good at public speaking as one of your extracurricular activities. We are giving you a chance here to give us a speech of 60 to 90 seconds, right? The topic given to you is women empowerment in India, a long way to go. Start.
So who should I consider as the target audience? Like, this speech is for the normal people, for you, like the panel, or what should be the target audience?
This is for college students.
College students. Okay. We live in a country where women are revered. We worship goddess Durga for like 9 days every year. Yet, when we see it's such a contrasting picture on the ground, we have crimes against women which are ranging very high year after year. So where does this baton stop? Like, what do we have to do about it? So to delve into that, we need to get into the reasons why women are so underdeveloped. First and foremost reason that comes to my mind is patriarchy. The attitude that people have has always treated women as a weaker sex, as a secondary citizen. So we need to change that attitude. When a girl is born, if we take the cradle to grave approach, the birth of a girl child is often not celebrated. We have problems like female feticide. Once she grows up, we stereotype.
Okay, thank you. Last question, a little bit. A small question. I just want names, no description. 5 women in India, in independent India, who have done something outstanding in any walk of life, excluding 3 areas. No one from politics, sports and cinema. And all 5 in different walks of life. 5 women who have contributed significantly to India.
Sure, sir. In the independent India.
Independent India.
Sir, I would say Shruti Kapoor.
Shruti?
Kapoor, Dr. Shruti Kapoor, who has started this foundation called Safety, which teaches women.
Okay.
And apart from that, I would also go for Sampath Pal.
For?
The Gulab Gang, the one who started Gulab Gang against domestic violence. And I'll also go for
Okay, thank you.
You just mentioned that patriarchy, and you were having in mind the Hindu society or Muslim society also.
So patriarchy is actually very prevalent in all societies, like regardless.
And a good example is Afghan.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, that's a straight question. What is today's news from UP?
Sir, Mr. Kalyan Singh, the ex-CM of UP, passed away.
Okay. Other than that?
Sir, I'm yet to read the newspaper for today.
Expansion. And the expansion is likely. Expansion of cabinets. And the analysis is 90% analysis is the caste based. That he brought all OBC under this expansion. Now the percentage has been decided. Do you feel that future of India is safe if we continue like this?
Sir, I strongly believe that casteism is not the future of India. We need to, even if we're talking about expansion of the cabinet, we need to bring in an inclusive representation from all walks of life. So I don't think casteism could be a major.
So all walk of life is the caste should be the criteria?
No, sir.
What should be the criteria?
So merit should be the criteria, experience should be the criteria.
The system you are going to join, public administration is yours.
Yes.
Do you feel that your ideals, what you just mentioned, will survive?
Sir, I think the Indian administration has survived so far because of its inclusivity, diversity and
Any
democracy.
example of the good part of administration survived?
Yes, sir. Like the Northeast. Northeast is very diverse. We have different tribes, yet it is still a part of India because we have brought in inclusion.
Okay, good. Any other aspect?
Any other example from India?
Example of from.
So,
Where you feel, yes, this steel frame has done that.
yes, sir. Let me just have a minute.
Yes.
So the union territories were constituted because we wanted to give them inclusivity as well as autonomy. So that is how we brought them in, giving them more representation in the union as well as keeping them secure.
Okay. Then more specific, public administration is your subject. Public administration.
Yes.
What is your impression that which states of India having better administration than UP?
If I have to pick one name, I'll go for Kerala.
Or region?
So Kerala has better human development indicators than UP. So since UP is mostly lagging in socio-economic indicators, and that has been very well achieved by Kerala.
If you compare the this public administration with the countries abroad, what you would like to infuse or that introduce in Indian bureaucracy?
Sir, I would like to learn from Canada. Canada has a very representative cabinet. Like whoever is the expert in that field, he is chosen to represent that ministry.
Same is in America.
Yes.
Just much last question. What is your opinion? why not all government servant has the contract basis, ad hoc? I am compelling because day before yesterday somebody asked me, UPSC now again going for the retired people. And I know for last 40 years, most of the people they have on ad hoc basis, casual. And that's why they are able to declare results. Why not in all?
Sir, I think stability of tenure is very important for administrative officers to keep them secure from any external pressure, to keep them
What is system in Ivy League and foreign universities for professors? It is just contracts?
Sir, I'm not aware of that.
What your NGO is doing?
So, I basically take up taboo issues like menstruation awareness, child sexual abuse.
And which are the areas where you are working?
Sir, I have gone to some slums, and for child sexual abuse, we usually collaborate
How
with
many
schools.
people are there in your NGO?
In my?
In your NGO?
It's a team of around 10 to 15 people.
Now tell me, similar work in which government department this work is expected?
So, Ministry of Women and Child Welfare.
No, in your district. Who is the nodal person who will be looking after these aspects?
So, there's a child welfare officer.
Okay.
So
and have you met him or her, whosoever is there in charge?
Sir, not directly.
Not directly.
I'm a budding NGO, so we have a team of 4 NGOs. We get together and the experienced NGOs.
Now, what can be the constraint of that person? Because if he is not working properly in the field and NGOs are taking care of these aspects, what can be his or her constraint?
Sir, I think I'll not call that his constraint, because the administration often leaves gaps. NGOs are to fill the gaps. We cannot ever replace the mainstream ministry, but then the person cannot...
No, I am going on the same line. What can be either there are constraints or there is non-willingness? Okay.
Okay.
So what it can be?
Sir, because they have limited resources and limited time, so they cannot meet every individual or talk about every problem to everyone. They will deal with the representatives, or there's a hierarchy, as we say in the administration. So the communication gets filtered out, and that is the reason the direct touch...
So whatsoever you have learned, how do you think that as a district magistrate, you will be able to take care of that knowledge?
Sir, I would try and make policies that are participative.
You cannot make policies. Policies are already made. Okay, you have to implement that. Now the person concerned in the district is unable to implement because of the constraint we just discussed. So what can be your role, and what the knowledge that you have gained, how can you make the government schemes implementable in the field?
Sir, I would try and go out and reach out to people more often. I would make my office more accessible to them. Even if I cannot talk to everyone personally, I will make sure there is some sort of e-governance portal installed or a complaint box installed, and I will try and resolve those grievances as a priority, because often what I see on the ground is that people try to report. Once it gets people think that they are being ignored, then their trust in the administration breaks, and then they don't even report. So I'll try to be very proactive in my approach.
So this is your experience from Jhansi.
So this is my experience from
you have
whenever
worked in Jhansi, so moreover.
Yeah,
now think of the same statement that you just made. If it is in Chhattisgarh, in Dantewada, what will be your approach then?
So Dantewada is a left-wing extremist affected areas. So here my approach will be on 2 fronts. One, on the front of security and law and order, which I'll try to enforce as strictly as possible.
No, I am talking about only women welfare. And
secondly, coming to the developmental parts, I would try that as the society is tribal in nature.
Recently, I read it was a discussion that if the delimitation is done on the basis of current population of India, the number of MPs will be something around 1400. Now, do you think that which shall be more logical, to increase the number of MPs or to change the parameters for representation of MPs? Now, say if if on 10 lakh there is 1 MP, then it should be kept, made change, maybe changed to 15 lakh or 20 lakhs, so that the number of MPs remain whatsoever it is today?
Sir, I would go for a middle path here. I would definitely recommend a change because we haven't had a change for the past 30-40 years. But then I would not go for a strength of 1400 because that will make the parliament very unwieldy. It will be hard to manage, and it will also incentivize the population policy of the northern states like Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, because they would think that, okay, keep on increasing the population and then we'll get more representation.
You are a student of public ad, no?
Yes,
So
sir.
there was a statement by Honorable CGI that it's the court job to agitate or basically react on majoritarianism.
Sorry,
Now,
sir, could you please repeat?
majoritarianism.
Sir, could you repeat?
Majoritarianism in democracy. Now, if democracy is vote-based and majority is voting somewhere, how can you say majoritarianism is wrong? Can you give your view on this?
Yes, sir. So India is a democracy and we have so many sections which are in the minority. So if we always go with the rule of the majority, we may leave many people whose voices will not be mattered. So I think...
No, but there are representation. So
Sir, but
after all, you have to vote. Somewhere you have to settle issue. Otherwise, you will always be in boil.
Yes, sir, but we have a culture of inclusivity, and that is the reason that majoritarian voices, I don't support protesting in the name of majoritarianism, but then yes, majoritarianism should be very accommodative of the minorities and make sure at least the basic rights of all the section of people are met.
Okay, since you mentioned about inclusive and minority, etc., etc. Now, minorities should be considered only in the national level perspective, or it should also be determined at the state level? What is your view?
At the...
State level.
Sir, I think we should determine at every level. I mean, once we are implementing the policies, we need to...
So today there is no minority department in any state. Supreme Court had directed all the states to identify minority. They have not done it.
Sir, I was
nobody is
talking in
about
the
this.
context of majority versus minority, not essentially like religion. We have a special cells
No,
for
take
children.
anything, caste, take anything. So let's determine the criteria of inclusivity based on majority, minority, and determine in as you say every level, even in panchayat level.
Yes, sir.
Okay, determine that. Do you agree with that?
Sir, as we have passed the 127th Constitutional Amendment Act recently, that gives the state some power to identify OBCs in the state list. So we are trying and bringing in the states as well.
So everybody will clamor to get into that. And there is also another clamor that increase the 50% ceiling, right? So it is basically free for all, majoritarianism, lathi, caste, communal forces at work.
Yes, sir. I definitely agree that that happens. Identity politics around caste is a major feature.
Okay.
Yet,
What are Kalpavriksha? Your Kalpavriksha Foundation. So where from this concept of Kalpavriksha has come?
sir, according to the Hindu mythology, when Samudra Manthan took place, a tree called Kalpavriksha was there. Like it came out of...
What is that Kalpavriksha?
it is a wish granting tree. Whatever you wish, it will
Whatever you
grant.
wish. So does it exist or it does not exist? What are the
Sir,
name?
according to the mythology, we have this wish granting tree, but
No, I'm talking about
obviously in reality,
the current day. In reality, which tree is considered as Kalpavriksha?
So in different regions, different trees have been, like in the
Yes.
desert, we have the shami tree because it keeps
Yes.
green. In the southern areas, the coconut trees,
Khejri and
khejris,
boab,
even banyans in some areas.
baobab tree and all other trees. Okay, parijat is also considered. Okay. Now 75 years of independence, we are still becoming more and more kind of mired in conflicts. What changes you would like to be brought in constitution, which will basically make the society merit oriented, equality to everybody. So all the preamble of our constitution is attained.
Sir, I would try and implement the Uniform Civil Code.
You will implement uniform civil.
I would, sir, in the present context.
Okay, no, I'm not asking justification. One is uniform civil code. The second?
Second, I would try and make some constitutional provision that guarantees the rights to women, like the fundamental rights. There is no gender-specific right as such.
Okay.
So for that, and anti-defection law is again another area that I would like
What
to
is your take about rights versus duties? You are working with woman and child, okay? Now, don't you feel that it is basically the duty which is missing towards child or towards woman, which is actually not actualizing the rights? What is your view?
Sir, I believe in a balance between rights and duties. Rights
So right now there is no balance. Right now everybody, everywhere it is rights. Right to food, right to health, right to everything, okay, without any duty to nation or duty to family or duty to anybody. So what is your view? How can we make duty as implementable?
Sir, I think for now we cannot give constitutional guarantee to duties, but we can try and encourage the role models. Like there are people.
Why not? Why not give a constitutional guarantee to duty?
Sir, because the duties are very varied in nature and we do not have the resources being a developing country.
Why varied? We are doing entire software designing. We can design a format or framework of duty. Framework of duty for citizen, for public servant, for politician, for judges, everybody.
So we can design that,
Yes.
but to implement that on ground would need a certain amount of resources. For example, we have this duty to provide childhood care and education in the age group of 0 to 6 years.
Yes.
But still we have around 10 million child labor in the country. So we have the laws
So
in
we have
place.
duty to remove child labor, no? We are simply because wishing child labor removal does not happen anyway.
So, Krati.
Yes, sir.
Krati, some very basic common knowledge questions. Have you heard about a term called global commons?
Yes, sir.
What are global commons?
So global commons are those resources which the world owns and they are for everyone. You cannot exclude them, like the air is
Now,
a global
talking
common.
of global commons, in your mind, which is the single most serious challenge that the society is facing right now?
So the climate change.
Climate change. What will happen if the climate changes?
So if the climate changes beyond a certain limit, the earth won't be habitable anymore.
In what way it will not be habitable? Because the earth has gone through so many extreme changes in its history. But the life has continued. There was ice age, many other things. Desertification, fires, all kinds of extreme conditions have prevailed. What is suddenly happening that we are so scared and using the term called existential threat? Why is this existential threat?
So the historical changes like the ice age, they had taken place over a vast period of time. However, post the Industrial Revolution, the pace of these changes has increased. The global warming as a phenomena has increased, and even the IPCC report.
In case, for example, instead of say the targets under Paris Accord, if this global warming was to take place in next say 400 years or 500 years, you won't mind. What will global warming cause? What will be the consequence?
So the consequences will be phenomena like urban heat island that we are already witnessing. The sea level will rise by 3-4 centimeters in the coming years. The glaciers will.
But calling it existential threat, is that justified?
Yes,
I'm
sir.
sure we will exist in a smaller place. We'll lose some land by
So,
sea level rising. We will lose some
habitable land because of temperature rise. But why do we call it existential threat?
So because the earth has a maintained temperature of 17 degrees Celsius.
Have you heard about a term called biodiversity?
Yes, sir.
What is biodiversity?
So biodiversity is the diversity in the biological resources and different species that exist on the earth.
We in fact also hear a term that we are looking at a massive biodiversity loss.
Yes, sir.
This will be the 6th or 5th in the history of planet. If we have gone through 5 major biodiversity losses, why are we worried about the 6th one?
Sir, because the pace at which this will happen, 1 million species are.
What is the difference between this potential biodiversity loss and the earlier losses?
Sir, because
Single most important difference.
Sir, in my limited knowledge, I would say the biodiversity loss, as all the organisms that live on the earth are connected, so such a magnetic changes will also affect human beings.
Is the human activity also resulting in biodiversity losses?
Yes, sir.
Then why blame only nature?
So because the Anthropocene era, in the era we are living
All
today,
right. We go back to duties. Essentially, what is duty of a member of a society? For example, tell me, how do you define my duty in a more concrete manner?
so duty, as it translates to kartavya, it means.
No, don't go into philosophy of that. I'm simply asking, as a member of the society, is there a benchmark to measure my duty, whether I'm doing my duty or not?
So duty differs from person to person and in different circumstances.
Is there any common benchmark?
No, sir. It just means to giving back to the
We
society.
use a term called law-abiding citizens, right? Somebody who abides by the law is doing his or her duties, because you have defined duties in law, how I am supposed to behave,
Yes.
isn't it?
That's in the
If I'm a
Constitution.
law-abiding citizen, don't you think I am abiding by my duties? Unless you change the law and change my duty perception.
Yes, sir.
As of now, whatever is the law, I am law-abiding.
Yes.
I pay my taxes, I drive as per speed limits, I look after my children, they go to school, I don't hurt anyone, I don't abuse anyone, I am a peaceful living person.
Yes.
Is that a good benchmark?
Yes, sir. I just meant that in the social and economic perspectives as well, that was what I meant, that as long as you're giving
All
back
right.
to the society.
You use one term, it's called left-wing extremism.
Yes, sir.
What is extremism?
So extremism in general,
Yeah.
or in the context of left wing?
No, I am talking of extremism. Who is extreme?
Whenever the equilibrium is breached and
No.
you end up at the end of
What
the
is
spectrum.
extremism? Equilibrium between what? Temperature?
No, sir. The contrasts, like if we're talking about, even if we're talking about temperature, like very cold and very hot. Now these are the
No, but in
extremes.
terms of societal behavior, what is generally extremism?
Sir, extremism means to be very radical.
When
as
somebody
contrasted to-
when somebody says what kind of clothes you must wear and no exception, would that be extremism?
Pardon, sir, could you please?
If the society determines what kind of clothes you should wear, what kind of food you should eat, what kind of books you must read, would that also count as extremism?
Yes, sir, it will.
It will. You said left-wing extremism. If there is left, is there a right also right-wing extremism?
Yes, sir.
Can you give me some examples of right-wing extremism?
Sir, the Hitler's society, the Nazism was a consequence.
But he
of the-
called his party a socialist. His party was called socialist.
Yes, sir, he did call it a socialist, but then the nature of the regime was very rightist and fascist.
What is the right and the left?
So right and left are actually the two ideologies.
Right of what? We say right wing. What is right wing?
So right wing are usually the fascist characteristics and left is more socialistic in nature.
So that means, no, what is fascist then?
Sir, fascist means the concentration of powers in one individual and
No, not necessarily.
Sorry, sir,
All right.
I'm not able to
I think we'll
articulate it.
stop here. So I just wanted to have a good conversation. Krati, are you happy with the conversation?
Sir, I think I could have done much better than this.
Generally, where will you put yourself on a scale of 0 to 10?
I would give myself something around 6 or 5.5.
6. When is your interview?
21st of September.
Lot of time.
Yeah.
Yes, no, but you good. You did well, huh? In my judgment, you did pretty well. Yes. Probably you need to sharpen your replies. But you're pretty sharp, in fact. Considering the other candidates we meet, you are pretty sharp. But since you are sharp, you could be sharper.
Yeah, of course, sir.
Yes. So I would suggest yes, prepare, keep preparing, and try to develop better understanding of the concept.
Yes, sir, I'll do
Yes.
that.
Because I got the impression that you have read things, but you don't necessarily fully understand those things. You have time?
Yes, sir.
Not that this is insufficient. What you have is sufficient. But I'm sure you could be much, much better than this.
Yes,
So
sir,
once
I'll
you
do.
grasp the subject, then your answer quality will improve. It's very good, but it will further be much better. Yes?
Yes, sir.
Appear for another conversation in about 10, 12 days.
Yes, sir.
Test yourself on substance of your answers.
Yes, sir.
Yes? Good.
You are a very good candidate, sir. Krati, just to reiterate what the chairman said, sharpen your replies a little. And the same, another thing he said was that don't go too much into the philosophy before coming to that point. See, and that happened in my question also. You don't, when I said women empowerment in India, long way to go. You had not yet come to the point that what has been done. That's when I say long way to go, that means something has been done also. Rather than giving too much of philosophy and background, it's not an essay. Here, first thing first is important in an interview. I gave you 90 seconds, but I cut it short. That's going to happen there. I wanted to give you an experience of what normally happens in UPSC. If you are not answering the 1, 2, 3 pointed things, they'll switch to another question. And that's going to be your loss. So be pinpointed. First thing first is the rule in UPSC, right? Otherwise, you are a very good candidate.
Thank you,
Any
sir.
other comment? Otherwise,
I think today we concentrated on opinion, and because you were not coming with fact, I mean, women development or any other issue.
Yes, sir.
Since you are already working in NGO sector, you are telling this. Women and child development, you should be ready. SDG performance on, say, social indicators, you should be ready. And FHS 5, you should be ready. Okay.
Okay, sir.
So, and you used a lot of jargon, as people said, inclusive growth, participation.
You'll get caught there,
all
huh?
this, you will get caught in that. Okay, so you be thorough
Yes.
about that. Indicators, what kind of indicator? Inclusive society, is there, what would be the indicator? Duty. So,
Yes, sir.
so you please be ready on that. Okay.
Yes, sir.
बढ़ती जाओ झांसी की रानी की तरह.
ठीक है?
हाँ.
Thank you, sir.
बहुत अच्छा.
You mentioned couple of times, you know. Omit that.
We don't know.
Informal.
We all know.
Yes, sir.
Or nobody knows anything.
Yes.
So,
And second thing, the speech that you gave to honorable members, if the same speech is to be given to a Talibani, what you will speak? Practice that.
so practice that.
That may come.
Adversarial.
Because you said, what is my audience?
Yes, sir.
Now, why did you say that?
Because
Then again, you gave the option to the member to say, all right, now you please address the Taliban.
Talibani.
You will get caught in
So
the
you will be. Don't clarify. Don't ask. Whatever.
right?
If you have doubt, then you say, as I understand, I am treating you as the enlightened group. and
Yeah.
giving to them.
Don't give options, okay?
Don't give too much, yeah? Okay, thank you so much. Very good.
Sir, I had a doubt. Like,
Please.
I've been told that, it will be better if you could lighten the mood of the panel and all of that.
No, but lighten, how do you lighten? Tell me.
I actually had that doubt. Like, what am I supposed to
No,
do?
you behave as natural as you
Another
can.
panel. Like, another panel.
No.
Another
Like, you're
panel.
not supposed to. You're not an entertainer.
Don't
for
try
God's
to
sake.
make artificial
Yes.
efforts for that.
Yes.
Let's
See,
say your current status is perfect.
yes.
Absolutely. Except some fissures.
Yes, sir.
For example, when chairman asks the duties, then you will depend person to person. Always, for duties is common minimum goal. You have to be honest. You have to
Exactly.
So, such question, when state question is coming, your clarity will come out. But you are 99% clear.
Yeah.
And everybody is enlightened there, so don't bother about it.
You know,
Don't lighten them.
no, that is not your job for God's sake.
It's not
So
your
you're not
job.
going
We
there to
all
entertain.
enlightened,
In fact,
feel
they are-
happy with your performance.
Yeah.
That is the way.
In fact, they UPSC generally they make an effort to make you feel comfortable.
Yeah.
Because you are a candidate.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Okay, come back again in 2 weeks' time. Okay?
After you have worked on
Good.
it, you should take another mock.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. I'll definitely try. Actually, the thing is, I put up in Jhansi. So after this, I have a train back home. So I'll just book a schedule with them in the next 2-3 months as
Okay.
per the dates I get.
At least 2 weeks, 10 days to 2 weeks. Okay?
Okay.
Good luck to
में
you.
बैठ के आप अच्छी तैयारी कर रही हैं, बहुत
Yes.
अच्छा लग रहा है.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
All the best.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.